Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. Well, I got crossed up last night. The Utes are at TCU. The Aggies are at UNLV. The Jazz are at home against the Hornets. If you told me that only one of those teams was going to win, don't worry about the point spreads. I'm talking just straight up. One of those teams is going to win. The Utes would have been my third choice, without a doubt. I don't know who I would have taken first, actually, in retrospect. I mean, the Aggies, they win more. Literally, they win more games than the Jazz, which is stunning because the NBA plays so many more games than college teams. But the Aggies at UNLV looked like a tricky game. That would be 7 straight wins in conference. 7-game win streaks in conference are really hard to come by. I did an interview with Spencer Nelson for TV last week, and I told him I think they're going to lose one of the next two. Boise State at home. At UNLV, that's a tricky combo. It's about time to lose a game. Something will go wrong. And sure enough, they didn't score in the last 2.5 minutes. And I really thought the momentum changed. They got a stop and a fast break and a dunk. They immediately got a stop, another break, and they shot a pull-up three. Time and score, man. I think the lead was 7 at that point. And you're up, it's like 7 with 5 minutes to go. Hey, it's 2-on-2. Don't take a three. It's late in the game. Your legs are tired. Threes get harder to make later in the game. Time and score. They didn't. They took a quick three, gave the ball back to Vegas, and I don't think they really ever recaptured momentum after that. And the Utes won at TCU. Now, PK said TCU's pretty good because I was poo-pooing BYU's chances at TCU, and sure enough, TCU beat BYU. But I don't think they're that good. Now, PK also said that the game at the Huntsman Center, rivalry game, anything could happen. I didn't really believe that at the time. But now both teams are 2-3 going in. Really, their overall record isn't that different. Neither one of them really has the marquee wins you want on your resume to be an NCAA team. And whoever wins, you got to win because you can't afford the loss. But I don't think the win is that good. You're going to have to beat some of the better teams in the Big 12. But you've got to beat the teams that are in the middle and at the bottom and, aren't as glamorous. So huge stakes. Utah and BYU, Huntsman Center now. Somebody's getting back to 3-3. Somebody's going to lose the rivalry game and drop to 2-4. Big game. So great win for the Utes. Now can they back it up again at home and get to 3-3? That would really put a different spin on things if they could get a third straight win after that terrible start. Start digging themselves out of a hole. So plenty of hoops there. Good night of hoops. Now, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to hear the best of the Jazz postgame show. What happened with the Jazz? And I will tell you this. They got big breaks because they have the 5th worst record in the NBA, and the teams with the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th worst records all won. How about that? Toronto beat Boston. How did that happen? If you're into Tankapalooza 2025, that was a great night for the Utah Jazz. Absolutely a great night. And the best part is they didn't get beat by 30 and have the other team sitting on the bench laughing at them in the fourth quarter. They played well. They led into the fourth quarter, and it got away from them at the end, which, with a young team, I think you can live with that. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get to the best of the Jazz postgame show next, right here on The Zone. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Time for the best of the Jazz postgame show as the Jazz lose at home to Charlotte. And Jake wraps things up right now, right here on The Zone.
Sure Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you this morning. Jazz fall last night to the Hornets, 117-112 at Delta Center. Jazz led for most of the game, but the Hornets finished with a flurry to get the W. The Jazz were led by Keontae George, who had 26 points. In his return to the lineup, Bryce Sensabaugh had 19 coming in off the bench. But the Hornets were led by Mark Williams, who had 31 points to go along with 13 rebounds. LaMelo Ball with 27, Miles Bridges with 25 in the win. Let's get to the postgame sound and start things off with Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
A lot of positive from tonight's game. We could point at some individual guys who played well. It's nice to have Keontae back and see him have a good offensive game. Isaiah had 10 assists. I thought Bryce obviously gave us a big lift in the first half offensively. But the reality is our focus drifted And with 3:40, I think at that time I was at 3:43 left in the game. It's a 1-point game, and we just did not execute coming out of the timeout. We didn't execute the coverage. We didn't get the rebound. We then blocked a three, and we all just sort of died when the ball was in the air. Keontae went for the loose ball, didn't get it. We ended up giving him a corner three. And the offensive execution sort of went away with it. It was like that moment took all the air out of us. And it's a good learning moment for our group. There's a long time left in the game. An NBA game with 3:30 left, a 4-point game is nothing. And I just felt like some of the focus down the stretch wasn't there. But these are a lot of young guys that are all learning together. And I could not be happier with the trend of our team's play, because I think if you look at where we were 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, to now, we're playing way better basketball on both sides of the ball, and that's all I can ask for. We'll continue to harp on execution things. We'll continue to teach and hone the execution that it takes at the end of the game to win. Because I say to you guys all the time, and I won't stop saying it, the margins between winning and losing are very small. And you walk out of here feeling terrible, but I know that it wasn't 48 bad minutes. It was 45 pretty good minutes, and then 3 minutes at the end where we didn't execute at our best. But it's really good experience for our guys to be in this situation, to feel those moments and deal with them together. It'll be good for us to learn from the film, and I'm looking forward to this road trip. I think the road trips are a really good opportunity for the group to continue to forge the relationships that it will take to win. We talked pregame about moments where you need the personal relationships to get through tough moments, and road trips are a great opportunity for us to continue to build those. So I'm really excited about our group.
What did you just think of?
Is that Tony? Wow. Sorry. Scared me. Yeah. Whew. I was not expecting that at all. Go ahead.
Just basically being able to see, development of the younger guys, in terms of not only tonight, but just in a big picture perspective. What are some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's great to see them grow individually, and those things are easy to point to from like a statistical standpoint, or you see a guy have a good game or 3 good games out of 5, and you start saying, hey, he's trending in the right direction. The part that I love and see and feel more than anything is that they're developing this collective attitude that they're in it together. And I've said to you guys before, sometimes with a lot of young players, the concern is that they start to compete with each other. And part of that's natural and part of that's good. But if it's too much about the competition between the guys, that tears away at the fabric of the team. I haven't felt that at all. They go at each other in practice. They talk trash to each other. They get chippy and snippy and all those things, and that's healthy. But when we compete against other teams, I feel this collective attitude that they're together. And that is really important for them to continue to develop individually, because if we don't have that in the games can get ugly. So I think that they're showing a competitive spirit as a group. It's why we've been playing better basketball the last 6 to 8 weeks, and it's going to give them all a really good opportunity to continue to develop, because when we take the floor as a team, they recognize the good in each other. They know what each other does well. They know how they can help each other. And that's the part that I'm most proud of, because this situation it's very easy for the human selfish ego thing to take over and it to become all about competing with each other, and I haven't felt that at all.
You mentioned that Keontae had a good offensive night. Where is he at defensively?
He needs to improve a lot on the defensive side of the ball, and he knows that. I think that tonight, early in the game, was poor. I think that it got better as the game went along. I do think that him playing off the ball tonight a lot helped him, because there's so much mental energy used up when you're on the ball a lot, especially when it's a position that you're not used to playing. And I know Keontae's in his second year, but it's his second year ever of playing point guard, and it's doing it in the best league in the world. So I do think that there's a little bit of that, but I'm never going to let Keontae off the hook. And for him to be who he wants to be, for him to be who he's capable of being, he has to elevate himself on that side of the ball. And I think that physically he's capable. There are some guys you come across where there are real physical limitations. I don't think that Keontae has those. Sure, there will be plays throughout his career where he is 6'4". But right now he needs to continue to hone his technique on the defensive side of the ball and kind of some of the attention to detail. But I will say that Keontae and I have had a lot of very honest conversations. He doesn't shy away from being coached. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't point the finger. He takes the responsibility for his play, which is the first step to being able to improve. So Keontae's improved a lot of things since he first started with us last year, and this is one that I think that he's fully capable of improving also.
Also on the defensive end, Mark Williams scores 31. You guys give up 66 points in the paint. What did you see defensively out there, just from a rim protection point of view?
We did not do a good job containing the ball, and the secondary plays in the paint were very non-physical tonight. The crackdowns on the bigs, some 50-50 balls. When we did switch, I did not think that we were very physical around the basket. And so they punished us in the paint in a variety of ways. It wasn't just one thing, but a lot of the plays, I felt like our body position on the perimeter was not very good. Our stance was too open. Didn't give shift defenders an opportunity to really help very much because we're getting beat in such straight lines tonight. And then, like I said, those secondary plays in the paint, whether it's the rebounds, the lobs, the drop-offs, passes to the roller, that's where you need that second player cracking down with physicality, and I still don't think we had it tonight.
You guys had 30 assists tonight, 16 of those from Keontae and Isaiah. How promising is it to see those? I know we've seen both glimpses of that, but, Keontae back tonight. What is it like to see that with them on the court together?
Yeah, that's very encouraging. Isaiah has had a massive uptick in his assists lately. Part of that's more minutes, but he's also making better decisions. But I think to see Keontae play a game where he takes 22 shots but also has 6 assists, it shows growth in his decision-making, that you can do both. And obviously those two together, we have Isaiah bring the ball most of the time when they're together, but there's also moments where we have Keontae as the decision maker. So 16 assists and 6 turnovers between them is a pretty good ratio. I mean, I'd obviously like to see less than 6, but I recognize that's not always going to be the case.
What have you seen from Elijah the last week or so?
He's tough. Elijah's tough, man. He's physical. Takes a lot of pride in his defense. He dictates things defensively. I think there's moments where you can get so focused on your positioning or execution that you become reactive defensively. You don't ever dictate anything, and when you react to players in this league, you're at their mercy. I think that Elijah does a really good job of trying to sort of force the issue, and he dictates where the ball goes and does a good job getting through screens. He's got this like annoying physicality. You can see guys starting to push off and getting frustrated with how physical he is off the ball. And clearly he's worked a lot on his shooting because I think it looks good. He makes a bunch in practice. I think he's taking good ones, which is always step one with me. He's learning on the fly. I mean, he got here 4 days ago. He's had one practice. So he's doing great.
All right, there is Coach Hardy. Let's now move on to the players and hear from Isaiah Collier.
I think the main thing tonight, the ball moved. I think we're pretty happy with that. I think we missed a lot of open shots as well. So, I feel like that's a bonus. Me and Key being on the court at the same time. Good experience. We play on-off balls type thing. But it was great. It felt good too. So yeah.
Coach Hardy talked tonight at length about growing individual talents while not growing a team completely apart. You guys have really held up teamwork in that respect, so you got to be proud of that.
Oh, yeah, real happy with that. Like I said, the goal for us is to show love around the locker room. That's the biggest thing for us, staying together, even through losses, wins and losses. So, just staying together, going out there to compete every single night and just giving it our all.
If this team does stay together, you guys could be playing together for years and years to come, and that's kind of the idea. How long did it take to develop the good chemistry with these guys?
It definitely takes a while for sure. Coming into the NBA, it's definitely a whole nother level for sure. So especially me for a rookie, but I feel like I've got better over the last couple games. I'm excited about that, and I'm looking forward to just keep going. So yeah.
Will Hardy's obviously a real smart guy. Takes his job real seriously, but he does such a good job of picking out the positives on nights where it's kind of tough. What do you like about Coach Hardy?
I love Will. For me, it's just helping us to lie every single day. That's the biggest thing that I've learned from Will. Through the wins and losses, he's helping us a lot. So with that, that's a bonus for sure. It instills confidence in us young guys, and that's a big thing for us, especially in this league.
I know that you rolled through here a couple times as a member of USC, but what do you like about playing basketball in Salt Lake City these days?
Oh, it's been great. I didn't really get the chance to play out here in Utah during college, but it's been great so far. I love the fans, I love the experience for sure. So yeah,
nice place to be quiet and play basketball, right?
For sure.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Did you never make it out here?
That's Isaiah Collier, had a double-double last night, 11 points and 10 assists. Let's now hear from Keontae George.
I've never been out for that long before, like a week and a half, 2 weeks or something. Obviously, you figure out, I said it before, you figure out who you are in times, like this. Obviously, my identity is just not basketball, but obviously it happened in Detroit. Regular ankle sprain, just trying to get it back to as close to 100% as possible. And I came back at the right time, and obviously I came back and played those few games, but now I'm feeling like myself, can move. So I'm just happy to be out, with the guys.
What do you miss, just in general? What do you miss about the game when you can't play?
Probably, obviously, the game. I'm lifting, working out every day, perfecting my craft, and don't really get the opportunity to go out there and try to perform. So that's what I miss. I miss competing. I miss going out there and battling. I honestly miss playing in front of our fans. I missed a lot of home games through while I was injured. So I just miss being in this arena, getting that adrenaline, and this is what I love to do. So obviously just miss the game, playing the game so much. So I'm glad I'm, back to where I can move and feel like myself out there and got the ability to go out there and compete with, my brothers.
How much fun has it been to see what Bryce has done in the last few games?
We came in this thing together, so I'm extremely happy for him. The way he can come into the game and affect the game immediately, whether it's scoring, whether it's getting to the paint and making good reads. I know what he's capable of, so it's all honestly just all coming to light. Obviously, you have some things to figure out, especially his journey was a little different from last year to this year, but now he's finding his niche. So I'm extremely happy for him, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But we talk on basically a day-to-day basis. So I'm just happy for him, honestly, like extremely happy.
And then that backcourt with you and Isaiah, what do you like about it? What do you think about playing next to him? And what, I guess, from kind of a logical point of view, what does that backcourt with you two playing together kind of present challenges for the other team?
Isaiah plays with pace every single time down the floor. Gets the ball out fast. Honestly, just the point guard that he is, finding different guys. But he can also score. I think he has a lot of things to his game that he hasn't really got to yet. So I'm excited to see when he gets to those things. But I think just the way he can get downhill, the way he can make defenses collapse. And then as far as both of us, obviously I've had the experience of playing point guard for a minute now. So just two people, thinking, kind of trying to think together. Constant communication throughout the game, asking what he sees, what I'm seeing. So it was really fun out there. This is our first time, I think, starting whatever. So, I was with him in the summer during his pre-draft, and so I think I'm able to play off closeouts more. Not just pick and roll all the time. And then, if I'm in the game and he's out, I know I have the ability to continue to run the team and get people in spots and run the right actions. So it's real fun being out there with him, for sure.
I was talking to Will about your defense, not just tonight, but just overall. And he had mentioned that you guys have had a lot of honest conversations. What have you taken from those conversations, and where do you think that you're at on that side?
It's just about being coachable. At the end of the day, our relationship is bigger than basketball. So the fact that we, like you said, have honest conversations, watch the film, talk things out. Because at the end of the day, he has a plan for me, and he wants the best out of me. So I think I'm just being coachable, looking him in the face every time he talks to me. He's challenging me, and I think I've made a jump on that end. But obviously, I have more in the tank on that side. So constantly just thinking about it throughout out there on the game. He's putting me on basically the best guard on the team every night. So obviously it's gonna be difficult just because at the end of the day, every action is going to be for him. Hate to say it, but I feel like this is we talk about the numbers, and the star players want to get to their numbers. So it's just about sitting down, guarding, having some pride. But I think I'm honestly just grateful that he's challenging me. I think honestly that's the first time that my coach that I've had has really been on my bumper about that side of the ball. So it's been, don't want to say interesting, but it's definitely helping me expand my game and be more versatile. So when it's time to the plan is I want to play meaningful ball. Everybody on our team wants to make it to the postseason, so it's just about you can't hide when it comes to that time. And that's been the main message. So continue to go out here and, treat every game like it's that, and setting myself up for success, later down the road.
Will talked about in the post-game, you had 26 points with 6 assists as well, showing that you can do both, be able to put up those numbers. When you're dishing out assists like that, how does that help you even just get into rhythm for your own scoring?
you're kind of like to feel with that?
I think as far as the like getting the assist and things, I think tonight I was just kind of playing in the flow. Obviously started the game off, sloppy, but it's honestly just about getting all the other guys in rhythm. Obviously I watch the film, I work on my game, so I prepare. So I'm going to know what shots I'm going to get to. It's just about, finding 2-4, maybe on the roll, or, we got Potter. I feel like he's automatic every time he touches the ball when it's going up. So it's just about keeping his confidence high. And then as far as just everybody, it's just about, I honestly was just out there playing basketball. Guys open, give them the ball. If I feel like I can take a shot, take a shot. But just trying to play within myself. And I know whenever I play within myself, I can play a nice, clean game. So I think just continuing to not really force things, get off the ball, make the easy pass, not trying to make the home run pass, but the ball has energy, and, I was just the one, giving the ball up, and guys was just, just finishing.
That's Keontae George, 26 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, but the Jazz come up short against the Hornets. They lose 117-112. Up next, the Jazz will be in New Orleans to take on the Pelicans tomorrow night. That game will tip off at 6 o'clock. Pre-game coverage begins at 5. Coming up next, more DJ and PK, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
There's the best of the postgame show. When we come back, we're talking hoops, mostly college hoops, looking ahead to the Utah-BYU game, which is now very interesting now that both teams are 2-3 in the Big 12 heading into that game with the Utes winning at TCU. Tim LaComb, who worked under Rick Majerus at the U and was an assistant coach at BYU, knows all about this rivalry from both sides of it. He's next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, The Zone. We are joined by Tim LaComb. You hear him on Jazz pre-half and post-game shows, former BYU assistant coach on Rick Majerus' staff up at the U. Tim, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Good. Look out there on the horizon, Tim. What do you see? BYU at Utah in a conference game at the Huntsman Center. Non-December going up against a bunch of football games in January. Old school. It's got to be a warm feeling, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, those were always fun, and played in several on either side. Not played, but participated in some way. Worked, yeah. On both sides, and I mean it's a big deal, and you want to be on the winning side of that game for sure.
What are some of your favorite memories?
Let's see. I think one of the best games was my first. I grew up a BYU guy my whole life, and ended up taking an opportunity to go to the U. My wife and I both went up there and went in and talked to Jeff Judkins. Never forget it. Walked into his office and told him I wanted to help. And really my first year there, I was just anything and everything that needed to be done. Just a manager, volunteer. We went down to BYU, and I think we clinched the first WAC conference title that I was a part of down in Provo. And Keith Van Horn had a big game. It was kind of fun to go back and see all the people that I used to consider people, associates and people I grew up with down in Utah County, but I was wearing red this time. And we went in and won that game. It was a big one, definitely a big one. And we wanted to cut the nets down, but Rick wouldn't let us. He's like, no, let's leave that. We'll go back and celebrate in the locker room. So pretty cool deal. I'll never forget that one. And then hard to forget the Jimmer game up in Salt Lake when he just went crazy. And I'll never forget walking in the locker room at halftime and seeing Utah fans giving Jimmer a standing ovation because he did kind of put on that sort of show. So kind of both sides of it, a Utah game, a BYU game on the road, but both of those were really fun.
If you were coaching them up for this game, what would you tell the Cougars they have to do to win? What would you tell the Utes they have to do to win?
I think for BYU, I think they found a little something last night in terms of their ability to score points. I think they loosened up a little bit. I think guys got a little more wiggle to their game. The ball moved a little better, but most importantly, they took better care of it. And I think that's crucial, particularly on the road. I think BYU's defense is pretty good. That zone's confusing to teams. But one area that Utah will really kind of challenge BYU is they really can score and they can shoot the basketball, if they get hot. And so I think for BYU offensively, it's take care of the ball. Defensively, I think they've got to limit the damage at the 3-point line. And then on offense for Utah, I think they've got a pretty free-flowing thing. I think they've got they've really got to test BYU's ability to communicate in that zone. BYU kind of goes to that zone to slow things down. If Utah can expose that zone, they could have a really good night.
Level of concern that 16 games into it, Kevin Young is still trying to figure out rotations and lineups.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a concern. I imagine it's a concern to him. Last night, because of foul trouble, Catchings only played 9 minutes. I mean, I think that's one of the tough things, though, with NIL is bring these guys in and pay them a bunch of money. And if you don't play them to their liking, they at the end of the day will say, well, thank you very much, take their money and go. So I think you're constantly fighting that. I think as a coach, that's in the back of your head. But I do think there's a part of this team that, there's some veteran guys that really function well together. So it's making some hard decisions, regardless of who's getting paid what, and putting the right dudes out there on the floor together. Young guys, exciting young guys, but young guys nonetheless. And I just think there's a reason since the beginning of time that young guys have kind of come along at the hand of veterans. I saw a really cool clip last night with Dallin Hall kind of getting up in Yegor's face after he had a nice little run. Up to that point, he had no points.
Yeah.
He played 20-something minutes with no points. And
right.
It's just hard for me to believe. And so I think that, you got to make the hard decisions, and I know that that's probably what he's juggling.
The fact there are so many new faces in this, and it's just the way college sports is now, so this could just be normal going in. Does that take some of the steam out of the rivalry, or you think there's the fans still get it, and there's enough people on both teams to get it that it'll be pretty heated pretty quickly, pretty intense?
Yeah, that's one of my questions is there are so many new faces, and this has not been a conference game for a long time. So this rivalry we probably have to get used into, but the very first time somebody shoulder shoves somebody or knocks somebody out of bounds, maybe the heat gets up a little bit. Certainly the Nick Emery issue up there, that created a lot of stir. So all it needs to have happen is, Marshall Henderson and Jackson Emery or something like that to get the thing a little bit more heated. And there are some Utah guys on both sides. If you look at it, BYU's got some contributors that play a lot and from Utah. And Utah's got a couple dudes, that understand it. But I would imagine this thing will be preheat, and then it'll be full bake, at some point as they get going.
Yeah, you brought up, no matter what the money is. And Rick Barnes at Tennessee, I don't know if you saw that, basically said, come on, man, that's not what we're paying you for. You need to be better. And then you got with Kevin Young with the big deal on preparing guys for the NBA. And Ketchings playing a third of the game the last couple of games. I realized the one was foul trouble, but TCU last weekend was essentially benched. Well, that ain't going to get you in the NBA. How much pressure do you think is on these coaches, particularly when they get somebody who is viewed as a potential one-and-done player, to develop them so they can go? Because it seems like, Young has put a lot of stock in, we can prepare you for the NBA. All right, well, if Ketchings doesn't get it going, he may not be prepared for the NBA in just one season, which seems so outrageous, but nevertheless, that's the way we're looking at. So I'm wondering how you think coaches deal with it.
Yeah, it's definitely, we used to have to kind of tiptoe around it with high-ranked recruits regardless of, the fact we didn't pay them. And I do want to say, I think for what was spent on the program over those years, I think might have been the best return and efficiency in comparison that BYU's ever had, because we won 30 twice and didn't pay a guy a dime. So it's a different world. But even then, you bring in a very highly sought-after guy who had plenty of opportunities to go elsewhere, and you want it to go well for them, but you can't micromanage it. You've got to let it happen. I do think part of the problem is everybody's in such a darn hurry now that, that they've all got their sights set on, and, hey, this is how it's going to go. And I just know from experience it never goes the way it's supposed to go. Very rarely
Are you talking about my life?
I think anything, dude. You know what I mean? I think anything. I think expectations have killed many an opportunity. And so I think it's a matter of, again, as a coach, you've got to focus on the development. And I know that's what KY is doing. But with that comes some circumstances that are out of your control. And then, at the end of the year, everybody kind of decides. And in this day and age, you are on a 1-year deal. There's no multi-year deals. And so it is a matter of gaining the trust that, hey, we know what's best for you. You got to make them feel that. But at the same time, so many people in their ear,
right.
This league of people in their ear saying you can do better. I did hear the other day Jared Calhoun talk about the fact that, I can't remember the number, but a good amount of his guys have been contacted by other programs or by NIL
he said
agents.
8, I think.
8, yeah. So it is, it's a whole new deal. We were getting that too. But it was just assistant coaches tampering. It wasn't guys with full-on intentions of making money off these guys.
Well, there's no genie going back in the bottle, so you're just going to have to learn to coach through that. Everybody's afraid to wait for fear that they won't get their guy because whoever they want will have already made a decision to go to somewhere else. So everyone just has to learn how to manage it at this point. I don't see it stopping.
No, I think it's the way of the world. I think it'll probably get worse before it gets better. I did see we're now firing high school coaches mid-year. I saw Utah Prep, who is feeling a lot of pressure too, apparently. They fire a coach mid-season in high school. What in the hell are we doing?
He was replaced.
Would be my question. Well, okay. Replaced, fired.
Guy with an NBA pedigree, though, is Keith Smart. Coached 3 different teams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm all for it. But let's just go ahead and wait till the end of the year, shall we? Do we need to fire a guy in mid-year in high school? So anyhow, it is what it is. But my point is that the climate is not patient.
Yeah, and Calhoun made that statement and saying it's off the rails. But here's a guy who just left this other school to take the job here. What's the difference? The coaches have been doing it.
Ask the Aggies.
They're contacted during seasons. We all knew Sprinkle was gone well before they went to Vegas.
Right. I agree 100%, PK. Yeah, what comes around goes around. There's no doubt about it. The one thing that is for sure, and it started to, before the transfer portal even, but loyalty used to be used to be a really big word. And, loyalty is decayed, particularly in college hoop. Like, yeah, the coaches have been messing around, with trying to better their position for a long time. So now, players are doing it too. And
yeah.
And so it's a different time. And, even though they're doing it doesn't make it right. And it's really what I started to see the paint come off the walls in 2019. And I was like, when you got to talk a guy into being there that's played 30 minutes a game, no, you got to stay, No, that's when I was like, no, I can't do this stuff anymore. This is beyond me now. So, but that's where we are.
Starting to get excited about Isaiah Collier. I think they're onto something here. He's got to follow it up again and again and again. But I think as far as this roster goes, he's the one true, what we would define as a point guard. And my level of belief in him is growing.
I would echo that sentiment. I definitely, last year when we approached the draft, and I spent a couple weeks preparing for it. I read his name. I looked at his stats. I hadn't seen a lot of USC, but when I had, it was a circus. Again, a lot because of expectations of a guy to play that wasn't playing, and the whole thing got blown up in Bronny James. But when I watched Collier's tape, it left off the screen at me because he has those things that are really hard to teach with a point guard. He has big, he's a big guy that can absorb a blow in the paint. He can get by his initial defender pretty much at will. And his vision, the vision he showed, albeit, tough decision making at times because spacing was a non-thing at USC. But when I looked at that tape, I was like, this guy can really have, he can really do things that you can't teach. As he's gotten into the league, early on, he broke the defender down, he left his feet, and he made a play or he turned it over, And I think over the last couple weeks, all of that stuff, and he even mentioned in the postgame last game that he's really out there just trying to consistently make the right decision. And it's led him to, he's the leading assist. He's the leading rookie in assists right now. I think you're seeing him in big minutes do some crazy good things. And, I texted a couple people maybe 2 weeks ago within the org that basically this dude is a guy. There's no question about it. And I think the sky's the limit. Really, it comes down to his ability to shoot the basketball from the perimeter, and he doesn't have to do it at a great number, but just enough to get a guy leaning or get a guy closing to him, and then and then it's game off.
Yep.
We've seen some positives out of Sensabaugh, the way he shot the ball, but then he got sick, so we haven't seen him here for a little bit. Are you more bullish in the long run on Sensabaugh or Collier? Which one of these performances you think is easier to replicate, given the fact we're talking about a rookie and a second-year guy, so, who knows? But your hunch is?
Well, I've always thought Sensabaugh, like his tape, it just jumped off the page like scorer in neon letters. He's one of those guys who has a knack for it. His three-point shot is definitely what he's working on. He's often short, and so those 2 games where he was back in Florida and really shot the ball well, and outside of that, starting to make better reads, because he too can have a real good opportunity as he develops to get into the guts of the defense and create for others. And he's thrown some nice lobs, some nice kickouts. He's been good in transition. I think his defense has gotten better too. And he's physically changed his body. You know, he's in better shape. And really that's what, coming off of illness, he's got to kind of get back his wind. But, no, I think they both translate. I just think on the high end of that, I think Collier just has that burst. You know, he has the ability to do things like you can hit him to another level, and he can kind of play at that level in terms of his burst. And so, not saying I like necessarily one over the other, but I think Collier's chances of really doing some big things kind of stand out to me, looking at both of those guys. But Sensabaugh certainly has the ability too to make some great things happen.
Tim, we appreciate the time. Utes and Cougars Saturday night. Settle down in front of the TV. Let the memories flow.
Are you guys going to that? Do you do that anymore?
I'll be in studio. I don't go to Saturday games.
Oh, okay, you're working.
Yep.
And PK, heaven knows where he goes on the weekend. I think it's the fun bus.
I will be out of town this weekend, yeah, or else I would have been there. Yeah, I go. Absolutely, I go.
You going to go play golf this weekend?
There's a decent chance, yes.
By decent, 100%.
Jake and I were just talking about how good a putter you are. That's where you got us both on the greens.
From years of trial and error.
There you go. Tim, we appreciate
it. Being with you guys. Have a good day.
We'll talk to you next week. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines next.